Welcome, everybody, to episode 17 of Bear Side of the Mat. We've got a few people in the chat already. We've got Game, we've got Corey, we've got Buster, we've got Nats Fan. Welcome, everybody. Hello to all the people in the notification squad. How you guys doing? Matt, what's going on, dude?
Hey there, hey everyone. You've already done a little promotion in the chat, but I'm going to do a little bit promotion, a little bit more promotion. We've had a lot of wrestling going on this past since our last show, really. And to catch up on all of it, you would want to go to our YouTube channel because we are going to post some individual reviews of, for example, the NXT that you're doing. I want to go over Raw and AEW because they've had some stuff. And while you're there, if you want to like our videos and subscribe, that would be glorious.
Make sure to hit the thumbs up button. Make sure to like the videos and everything. Yeah, AEW is tomorrow night. Well, it's going to be, I think it's still going to be tomorrow night. The idea of it was that the NBA was going to be on instead, but that does not appear to be happening now. That's a different discussion for a different time, but the idea behind it was that the NBA was going to be on tonight, but that does not look like it's going to be happening. So it looks like AEW is still going to be continuing on Thursday. I don't think they can just switch on the dime and just be like, hey, here's our show. I'm not even sure if the show is actually a tape show or a live show. If it's a live show, then it's definitely happening tomorrow. I don't think Tony can tell his guys, be like, hey, let's get a show right now. Like,
If for some reason we get news that it's going to be tonight during our podcast, I'll let you guys know. But I looked at the website to pull up the preview, and it's still listed as tomorrow. They could, if it's taped, put it on tonight because I don't know what else they're going to do. But I'm with you. I doubt that they're going to make the programming schedule change that fast because people are looking for it Thursday, and if they show it tonight but not tomorrow, then people are going to miss out on it.
yeah, I think it's a foregone conclusion. It's gonna be tomorrow night.
But
But
they don't want to spread it out over 2 days, like show a replay tomorrow, because they get some viewers today, some viewers tomorrow. They want all the viewers at the same time to pop that rating.
yes. So tomorrow it looks like AEW is gonna be on. Tonight it's gonna be NXT. I don't think anything is gonna change with the scheduling. A lot of things are fluid right now. That's all we're really gonna say about that. But anyway, let's get on to SummerSlam. Nothing really much happening on the pre-show. We did have a U.S. title match. I don't have a graphic up here for it. Apollo Crews successfully defended his United States Championship against MVP in what I would consider, it'd be a pretty decent TV match, but nothing special.
I was kind of looking forward to this match because, as I've stated before, the more and the more of the Hurt Business that we get, the more and the more I'm liking it. And they're not done with their Hurt Business storyline either.
No.
Which I guess I go more into when I do my solo shot, but they're still trying to recruit. But we have MVP versus Cruz, U.S. title championship. It's on the pre-show match. It's kind of sad whenever something's pushed to the pre-show. And, it's a little different. Back, say, even a year ago, if you were on the pre-show, it usually meant you were NXT match
or 205 Live, not necessarily
205
NXT.
Live.
Yeah.
And to be honest, especially the 205 Live, when they had their big match on a pay-per-view, they killed it. They made me want to watch the pre-show because they were not always, but sometimes the best match on the card.
Every once in a
Not
while they
always,
would.
but oftentimes one of the best matches on the card.
Absolutely.
In this case, what it did basically was cut down how much time they got. And I think because of that, they were able to put on a decent match without having to extend it too long. And I don't think it was too fast either. The main story in this match was, of course, the long-standing feud, trying to, for the fourth time, to finally have a match between MVP and Cruz. The big story in this match was Cruz was trying to pick up MVP for his toss powerbomb. And apparently this was very hard specifically to do to MVP for whatever reason. The announce team made it seem like MVP. Well, yeah. So the only logical way to make this happen was to say that MVP weighed a bunch, so he was hard to pick up, which was
Spending
kind of insulting.
too much time at catering. We needed Scott Steiner on the commentary.
And he did. I mean, MVP doesn't look like he's out of shape or anything,
No.
but he also doesn't look like he's as beefy as like Brock or Brock Lesnar or Lashley.
Yeah.
So just saying like, oh man, MVP weighs like a solid 250 something pounds. Can he lift him up? I was like, that's kind of mean. But that was the story they went with. He got the toss powerbomb in the win, and I was kind of looking forward to MVP winning it, but I didn't think he was going to. I thought Cruz would still hold on to it, but it's kind of weird because they're building up the Hurt business. They're not really caring too much about Cruz. So we'll see what happens if the different members of the Hurt business are going to get more shots at the U.S. title or what here.
Yeah, we'll have to see what's going to go on next with that. Good to see Cedric continue that reign. Obviously, the pandemic kind of stopped him a little bit, but now he's back. He's better than ever. We got a pretty good match. And then the other stuff in the pre-show is apparently, according to Booker T, a lot of people don't like Charlie Caruso.
That was
really kind of mean thing to say from Booker T. Booker just says a lot of stupid shit. I'm not even gonna lie to you.
Yeah, I don't even think that's like true. Like, I don't even think he thinks it's true. I think he was just like, I'm going to say something controversial here. Nobody likes you.
And even everybody else, until finally JBL just kind of chimed in. But Booker was just like, Charlie, I hear a lot of people don't like you. And then there's like a few seconds of everyone just being like, and then JBL's like, you know what, Booker? I've heard that too. Charlie, I've heard a lot of people don't like you. It's just like, what are you guys talking about? It's like so stupid.
Yeah. JBL was trying to stay in character as kind of a heelish character, so he's kind of like, yeah, I heard that too. But then he also moves on really fast, like, so this match, blah blah blah, and like, yeah, get off that topic. Booker just said something really weird. Move on. That's what I've heard some different radio, live radio. They're kind of like, if you say something or somebody says something that shouldn't be on air, just pretend it never happened and move on. So
sometimes
if you got a caller and he drops an F-bomb or something, and for some reason it makes air, pretend like it never happened and just keep talking.
They're just joking, but it was to me it was notable, and it was just kind of weird. I don't know. I just thought it was weird. All right, so we move on to the main show. Our first match of the night was for the SmackDown Women's Championship. We had Bayley defending one of her belts against Asuka in the opening match of the show. And I believe to me, I believe it was booked this way. That way Asuka didn't have to wrestle two lengthy matches at a very short period of time, because as we get to her match later with Sasha Banks, there's probably a good hour to an hour and a half, probably about an hour or so rest to get ready for the next match. So yeah, this is why I believe this match was first. What did you think?
And I'll talk more at length about this when we get to the second match, but just focusing on this match, I of course was hoping that Asuka was going to win both belts, become Asuka knee belt, or sorry, that's
Asuka all belts.
Yeah, that works too. But sorry, I'm getting story ideas in my head, but so Asuka came out swinging really hard, and I guess the idea was she wants to get this match over with, get a quick win, and be fresh for her next match. This didn't quite work out though, as Bayley's not going to drop really fast, of course,
unless it's to a big butt to the face from Naomi on SmackDown.
Let's see, Asuka has added a few new moves to her arsenal that I noticed, like the reverse sleeping bulldog DDT thing that she did.
We saw this a couple times. We saw a couple variations of DDTs on the outside on the night from Asuka.
And I think it looks good. It's cool that she's debuting it at SummerSlam. It added to the match. I like to see wrestlers evolve. Some wrestlers can get by with their normal moveset and their normal storyline in the ring, but when you can add stuff, I really appreciate it because it add you want that big moment, and when you see something you haven't seen before, that's that big moment.
Sure.
So Asuka, let's see. So Bailey, uh, Bailey got help with Banks causing a distraction. Bailey hits the surprise roll up, gets the 1-2-3 pin.
Makes Simon Miller pull out his hair in the process.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen his review.
I haven't seen it yet.
Because of this specific roll up, he wrote a poem about how much he hates surprise roll ups. It was a Zen moment. It was funny, but yeah, I would have liked to seen. Well, I mean, so coming into this match, Bailey had several losses in a row on TV. Asuka, in fact, had gotten the last 2 wins over her, both tap outs, I believe.
And then Naomi got a win on SmackDown as well.
So seeing Bailey come in against Asuka, I was thinking, man, Asuka should end up getting the win here, whatever the case might be. I kind of see what they're doing, and I want to save the rest of this commentary for later. But I was thinking it made more sense if Asuka was going to take this belt from Bailey. And after her loss, Banks and Bailey come in and start beating her up to soften her up for her next match against Banks, which, again, we'll get to later.
And then Bailey starts to throw kicks at the, kicks really far away from the screen, but pointing at the screen, which I thought was hilarious. I don't know if you did or not, but I laughed out loud on our Discord call whenever we were watching it.
I don't like her antics that much, but that was making me crack up. I think she's gotten to more stuff that I legit find funny and less stuff that I legit find annoying. And if she's finding her sweet spot, and if she can keep that up, then she'll turn in my mind, because I'm still kind of iffy on Bailey. She's more annoying to me, but
I think the idea of Bailey, not so much Sasha. Sasha's just kind of tailing along, and she's kind of doing her own thing, but she's in support of Bailey. But I think Bailey's thing is that she does so many things that she thinks are kind of cool, but everyone else looks at her and it's like, you're such a dork. But I think that's what makes her both a character on screen that is easy to dislike because she seems so douchey that way. But at the same time, whenever you look back at, to me, I think it's funny. And that's what to me makes it kind of really entertaining for her. Not kind of, actually very entertaining.
Yeah, there's a fine line there, and the line is different places for different people. She's kind of right on that line for me, sometimes on the good side, sometimes on the bad side. But yeah, for sure, I think she's going to the positive. I think there was a moment in the match too where Asuka got laid out on the outside, and Bailey, instead of going to pick her up or stomp on her or whatever, bends down in her face, points a finger, and starts laughing the obnoxious in her face. That was a little bit more annoying to me, but it fits her character. So again, I understand why she's doing it.
This also leads into the end of the match leads into a big story. Not a huge. So far, it hasn't been built up as big, but it was a notable story coming out of the show, and we'll get to it in the Asuka match. But the way this match ended, Sasha takes a bullet essentially for Bailey, and then Bailey picks up the scraps and is able to get a surprise pin over Asuka. What did you rate the match?
Well, you're putting me on the spot here because I didn't actually rate any of them. But if I want to give it a rating, I would probably say a solid 3 out of 5. I think it was a good, fun match. I would have liked to have seen things go a different way, and it's hard to rate the match by itself because it's so tied into the Asuka versus Banks match. But I would give it 3 out of 5. Basically a good, solid match. I didn't see a whole lot of negatives, and I would have liked to have seen it go in a different direction, but that's just personal bias.
That's close to what I had. I had about 3 1/4. I thought it was a good match. I feel like they've had better matches in the past, but what we got was really good, and it was a good start to the show, good opener. And
Yeah,
again,
I think that roll up also kind of kills the rating a little bit.
but at the same time, I do think the end of the match does play into a bigger part of the story that we'll get into here whenever we talk about the second title match that Asuka is a part
Yeah,
of.
it's hard to go to because, I mean, granted, chances are everybody's seen this before, but we want to keep the continuum of our narrative here, so we don't want to go into the next match. So when we get there, we'll have a better review of both matches together.
All right, second match of the card was the Raw Tag Team Championship match between the Street Profits and Andrade, or Street Profits versus Andrade and Angel Garza. During the entrance for the Street Profits, they had reigning red Solo cups. Thought it was kind of cool.
I've heard some bad things. I think that was I thought it was really neat, kind of funny.
You know what? If WWE's got the Thunderdome and they got that kind of space, use it. I didn't really think too much of this match. I thought it was okay. I pointed out to you during our call that I felt like there was some, I don't know if it was intentional, and I don't think it was, but I just felt some weird positioning stuff between Garza and Andrade. It didn't feel like they were on the same page as far as, the actual work itself, and it was really noticeable a couple times. But they kind of got their feet under them a little bit, and they got a little bit better as the match went along. Rather, kind of a short match. The match ended with Montez Ford hitting a 180 frog splash, which I don't know if he does that normally, but the height that he gets on it and the spin that he gets on it, along with the accuracy, was actually really, really cool. I thought that was pretty neat. But overall, this was kind of this match was just kind of there to me. I didn't think anything too special of it. So, yeah, I mean, not too many thoughts on it. I don't know about you, but...
Yeah, so we thought going into it that they've been building up Andrade and Garza, not necessarily as big, gigantic monster heels, but as a cohesive tag team. They're giving them a lot of time, a lot of words, a lot of matches. And we thought, okay, so here's the opportunity to make them a legit tag team, have them win the titles at least for a short bit. But that didn't go that way. Street Profits kept it, and it looks like the direction that they're going now is kind of splitting them up. But the problem with that is that they're never really on the same page to begin with. Ever since they started, they've had problems with each other, with Zelina kind of being the glue that's holding them together, whether they want to or not.
Right.
And that kind of goes with kind of not working well as a tag team, as you were mentioning, not having great positioning. But for what was going on for while they're in there, I think they were having fun, having a good match, pulling off good stunts, because they work well and the Street Profits work well. The build-up for this match was mostly Zelina poisoning the Street Profits,
or not poisoning the Street Profits, whatever.
Well, yeah, quote unquote poisoning them, but not really poisoning them, because they wouldn't be alive anymore if she was poisoning them. But there was footage of her putting something in their cup that they don't look at before they drink out of, which I mean. They like put it to their lips and stuff, but I don't think they ever actually have anything in their cup.
I have no idea.
It's kind of confusing all around. But that was the feud and the build up, and it didn't really connect with me that much for obvious reasons. Yeah, I thought the ring work was fun. I thought it was good. It was good to see watch the different moves as they're happening. Zelina was a distraction for Garza, but hurt her own team, so the Street Profits got the win. It was kind of a mishmatch of different ideas. Not like a real straight fight. Just nobody even really seemed like they had an advantage on the other one. It was just moves, then a distraction that didn't work out, and a pin. Yeah, the 360, or sorry, not 360, that'd be a full rotation. The 180 frog splash, I thought was really cool. Looks really cool, and he did it again as a finisher on Raw. So I think that's going to be his specific finisher, and I kind of wonder if they do that instead of having a tag team finishing move, as tag teams often do.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a good finisher. But
I was like,
that was really
I
the
was
only thing. That was the only thing that really stood out in this match to me because I hadn't seen it before.
yeah. So I think again, I was expecting Andrade and Garza to win, but they didn't. I think this is basically the start of the end for their group. I don't know if they're going to feud against each other or just part ways, but even on Raw, prior to and afterwards, Garza is always flirting with other women. Zelina Vega is not happy with it. You can't quite tell if it's because she wants the attention or if because she just wants the team to be together. So we'll see where this leads. To be honest, I think Andrade and Garza can put on some good matches if they can build up a good feud like this. So hopefully that's what we get.
I gave this about a 2 out of 5. Again, this was kind of a. I won't say it was a put together feud. I mean, there was some build up to it. It wasn't very good, but there was some good work in it. Just nothing outstanding to me, and the match to me was just kind of there.
Yeah, I want to say too, since I forgot to put a 2 out of 5 for this my rating too. I saw fun stuff while it was happening, but again, it was cut short. Didn't have a whole lot of story for the actual match, and it was just a mishmash of ideas, which it was supposed to be that way, but it didn't give it. While it might have furthered a storyline, it didn't give us a good match in the ring. Corey said that he went to a Raw event and saw that there was nothing in the Street Profits Cup. So there's a kayfabe right there. Nothing in there. Nothing in there.
All right. Well, did you have more?
I was reading more of the comments, but I'm not seeing anything. It's just more about the cups.
All right. Our third match in the card, which they did an audible on this, which I completely understand. The story of the audible, they changed this match from a hair versus hair match to a straight up no disqualification match, no holds barred, where the loser leaves WWE. And if you guys have not read about the story on Sonya Deville, she is currently in a bit of a legal battle, not necessarily a legal battle. She's going to court for her against the man who invaded her home, which is a scary situation we touched upon last week. But there is a story out there that's saying that if for her to show up in court, she probably should not have a shaved head or something like that, which whatever. It is what it is. But I believe that is why the storyline looks like it was changed, or not the storyline, but the match stipulation changed, which sucks because I mentioned last week I like hair versus hair matches. I think it's a good gimmick. Instead, we did get a falls count, or not falls count anywhere, but a no holds barred match. This is where I had a bit of an issue with the card itself, not necessarily this particular match, although I did not think this particular match was actually all that great, but I give these two a pass because I'm sure they worked hard and everything like that, so I'm not saying that they didn't work hard or anything, but I didn't think everything clicked as much with this match as it should have. So I thought it was just kind of okay. But at the same time, I kind of give it a pass because, like, I don't know how you go to work like that after something like that, even a week later, because that's a pretty crazy situation, obviously.
I didn't have a whole lot of I didn't care too much about the match or the storyline until it got real, kind of thing, which didn't have a whole lot to do with the actual storyline. But and in fact, I hope that this isn't something that happens on the regular to get me more interested. But it made me a little more interested on a personal level with both of them, and that made me want to see how they work. And a lot of times when you get best friends that are wrestling each other, best friends in real life that are wrestling each other, you end up getting really good matches because you have two people that know each other really well, and you have two people that aren't as afraid to hurt the other person because both they trust them and they know that if they make a mistake, they'll be forgiven instead of getting a lot of heat in the back.
Someone owing the other a receipt.
That does happen. So I thought the match was not amazing, but better than I thought it was going to be. And again, I think it came from that being comfortable with each other. And also, I wanted to say Sonya Deville looked like Matt Hardy when she was coming out. Just with the kind of the duster that she was wearing and her hair being out to the sides.
With
I thought Mandy
the broken Matt Hardy gimmick, right?
Yeah, broken Matt Hardy specifically. But Mandy Rose, I thought, looks good with her new look too. She looked a bit more like a serious fighter and a little bit less like the Divas era type of pretty girl that also wrestles. I felt like she still looks pretty, but I'm trying to say I can take her a little more seriously. And I feel like there is kind of like a fine line between right now and WWE, because they're still in the stages of changing over from not taking the women's as seriously and now taking them a lot more seriously, where there's still some of the women's competitors that don't get good storylines, don't get a lot of airtime, and they seem to because they did this for the Iconics, where they're like, I'm assuming it was Vince was like, you guys need to get surgery and then we'll give you more time, and they get a little more time, but they're not getting serious time in the ring wrestling for championships and all that stuff. So I feel like their haircut, she looks more like a serious fighter, more like kind of what you see with the women's UFC fighters. And I feel like hopefully they can get her more time to develop her character and develop her as a fighter, give her some more matches, because the women's division are down a few of their stars and could use a few more storylines rather than just one or a couple thrown together ones. But we'll see, because there's a lot going on with it, and we'll get to that with who has the belts, where they're going, where the belts are going, and who's going to be challenging them for them, right? Because right now it's just two people have the belts and one person is challenging all of them for the belts.
Yeah,
sorry, that was a lot there.
But I thought, like I said, I thought this match was okay. Like I said, I kind of gave it a pass, but there was nothing really that was like too exciting or anything like that. And again, this is all part of a bigger problem with the booking of the entire pay-per-view itself. I think this could have been booked as some other gimmick to kind of stand out from the other two gimmick matches on the show. The other one is actually the next match coming up. So, in my opinion, I don't think it's a good idea to book two straight street fights, essentially, or two straight no disqualification matches back to back, and with as much emotion in both matches. I think that was a little bit questionable, but I don't think it necessarily took away from the quality of this match or anything like that. But the match ended with Mandy Rose hitting 3 running knee strikes, and they looked pretty good. They were better than the punts that Randy Orton gave Drew McIntyre on Raw on Monday. I'll say that. But good finish to the match. Otis came out to celebrate, and I think that was meant to be as a little teaser, like, oh, he's at the show, he might be cashing in later. But we'll find out later if that actually happened or not. But I gave this match around 2 stars. Nothing bad, but nothing to really stand out, essentially.
For me, I would give it a 3 stars, solid, maybe a little bit on the lower side, but 3 stars for me. It was a bit better than I expected. It had a solid story. I would have liked to have seen for I mean, granted, we know what happened, but for a loser leaves WWE match, I would have liked to have seen a lot more build up for that being losing your career is kind of a big thing. So
yes,
adding that at the end is a little different than being able to build it up to like, oh no, I don't want to lose, or I'm confident I won't lose, or I hate you so much I want you to leave, kind of thing. But again, we know why it changed, and I'd definitely give it a pass.
Next match on the card, as we alluded to already, is a street fight between Dominic and Seth Rollins. First off, Crisp727, thank you for that follow. We do appreciate that.
Yep.
But again, next match on the card, Dominic versus Seth Rollins in a street fight. Dominic came out in some some cool looking gear. Although he had a mask attached to his hoodie, I didn't understand that one because we never got to see it. But Seth Rollins,
really quick. He walked out with the mask on. Like you got to see him in the back really fast with his mom and his dad, Ray, and I forget his mom's name. And as he walks through gorilla position, he puts on his mask. He comes out, he has the mask on, but you only get to see it for a split second before he takes it off really fast. And I think he was probably supposed to have it on longer, but it's one of the things you learn about when you're on TV a whole lot more is where the camera is, when the camera's on you, and all that sort of timing. So he had it on for a quick second, threw it off really fast, and yeah, it was a little confusing.
So, and then Seth Rollins comes out in gear inspired by 1997 Halloween Havoc in the gear that Rey Mysterio wore in his match against Eddie Guerrero. If you guys have not seen Eddie Guerrero versus Rey Mysterio from Halloween Havoc 1997, just a little side note, go watch it. It's probably WCW's best ever match. That's my personal opinion. But this match was good. There's a couple things I didn't like about it. One thing I want to talk about, this is a blood feud match, right? Dominic is coming to avenge his father, who lost his eye at Extreme Rules. So there's that. He got beat down on Raw and everything like that. So this is a street fight. So in my opinion, this match should be an all-out war. Maybe not, it's WWE, it's PG, so you're not seeing a lot of blood intentionally, but this should be a knockout, drag 'em out fight. And the way we open up this match is a collar and elbow tie-up. And then the first couple minutes is Seth just saying that, look at me, Dominic, I'm so much better at you at wrestling because I've been, you're like barely trained and I've been trained for so long. I hated that start. I hated that start so much.
I was gonna say I have it written down here too. It's funny because I wrote this before I even realized what I was writing, but it's a feud match. It's a grudge match that's been building up for a while to extreme levels. You would expect them to have more of a street fight feel at the beginning, and then I thought, oh yeah, this literally was a street fight, and that's all the reason you need to have a street fight beginning. So going collar and elbow, really weird choice. I do want to say it's nice because, well, I guess a few points. Dominic Mysterio, it's his first match on TV ever, let alone at SummerSlam, probably WWE's, in their mind, their second biggest pay-per-view, against Seth Rollins, former WWE champ, big star. And maybe you want to start things a little bit slow, get your nerves underneath you, show that you actually know how to wrestle instead of just coming out like a celebrity who's going to kind of do this or that, throw punches, throw kicks. I kind of get that, but it doesn't make sense in the context of story. So it's kind of one of those things where I gave it enough of a pass because the match made up for it later.
The big thing that I took out of this was that the content itself, the moves and everything, Dominic looked good, Seth looked good. They put together a good match as far as doing the moves and everything. Some of the drama in there that they added towards the end. Towards the end, the story started getting a little bit better. But I hated how, if you compare it to Pat McAfee versus Adam Cole, that match was built on Pat McAfee's coming as like, hey, look, I think I can do the thing better that you've been doing for a long time better than you. So you know what? They started out wrestling, and Pat McAfee showed that he could hang a little bit, which was, I'll talk about that more in the review. But that match made sense as far as the storyline goes. They hated each other, but at the same time, there was pride because Adam Cole was like, I'm gonna out wrestle you, and Pat McAfee's like, I'm gonna do better at you at your own game, and I'm gonna embarrass you. And that was the point of that story. And I think that's why that match was looked at as a little bit more, at least in my opinion, more entertaining. And I think the storyline was better for it. Whereas this one, the storyline really should have been like Dominic should have been like, I'm gonna kick your ass. But instead it was just like we saw some wrestling and stuff. So that's the main part I didn't like about it. That's what I take away from this match. But that and the length of the match, it was entertaining. I'll be honest with you. I think that Dominic held his own very, very well. Very impressed with how he did. But yeah, I just don't think the story really the story they told in the match didn't really connect until really kind of the end of it, and that's where it started to take on and started to get pretty good. But the rest of the match itself was kind of like they're doing moves and they're fine, but other than that, yeah, exactly. That's just me.
I want to say so. Thank you for Corey for letting me know Dominic's mom's name is Angie. Yeah, Dominic seemed more impressive on Raw than SummerSlam. I would say just really quickly, because I'm going to talk about that when I do my own Raw thing, and please check out our YouTube for that. That on Raw, the story was a little bit different, especially because Dominic was tag teaming with his father. And I feel like the story they told on SummerSlam of him being a rookie, him being by himself, him trying to do it all by himself. And I feel like it was Seth's veteran experience and cunning that won him the match more than just overall strength. When it came to strength, when it came to back and forth, they were going back and forth, looking good. And there were points in the match where the drama was brought up for Rey Mysterio being there, Rey Mysterio getting handcuffed, cuffed, and beaten up, his mom coming out down not down the ramp, but out to the ramp. All that kind of emotionally charged him, and he would bulldoze in there and get his shots in and start picking up the pace again. I felt all that. I felt like it did a good job. Like he was saying, John was saying, the story really hit home towards the end, and it didn't at the beginning. But again, this was, I believe, live. I don't think they filmed the pay-per-views. They do them live, even if there isn't an audience there. Which would make sense if they're having an audience, even if it's through cameras. The audience has to see what's happening live. So, I give it a little bit of a pass because I think they're trying to help Dominic, it being his first match, calm down, show that he knows some wrestling stuff, and hopefully it helped out because Dominic looked good. He looked like a wrestler. He looked like a rookie wrestler, but he looked like a wrestler. Things were a little bit slow. He was trying to get a feel for the flow, feel of timing, feel of where the cameras are. And I feel like they've done that a few times for Rollins where he takes on a rookie and I guess helps them get adjusted to being in the big leagues, so to say.
Yeah.
I liked the build-up. I liked the story as it was going along. I thought it was a fun match. And Rollins ends up with the win. I was kind of thinking that Dominic would get the win here, so this was another unexpected ending for me.
I thought so too. This is an issue I have with WWE for. I think this is a Vince McMahon thing more than anything. Vince is one of those people who really pushes off like big wins sometimes because he thinks like, I'm gonna add even more heat to it, and it's just like, dude, it's got enough already. You can overheat things.
Yes, it's burnt now.
Yeah. So at least that's my opinion.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Overall, I want to say I give this my first 4 out of 5 tonight, and you maybe not agree as much. Like I said, I thought there was some disappointment there. If the beginning would have been a great start, I may have given it a 5 out of 5 because I connected with it a lot personally. Not that I'm a father watching my son wrestle, or not that I'm a first-time wrestler or anything, but I felt on Dominic's side. I wanted him to win. I thought he was going to win. I wanted Ray to see his boy win, have a big tearful hug, just one eye's worth of tears because the other eye's not there, and celebrate with mommy in the ring. We didn't get that, but it's what I wanted. And if you want to push Rollins, which they have been doing, then that's fine. He's got my hate. My hate in a good way, though.
I gave this about 3.25. Not bad. Like I said, Dominic in his first ever match, I'm sure he's been training for a while. I'm sure they rehearsed this pretty well. I thought it was good. I just thought it went a little bit too long, especially for his first ever match. But what we got was good. I just think some of the putting together of the match could have been done a little bit better. I think some of the story did not really all connect all together. And you know what? In my opinion, wrestling is storytelling. So that's just my takeaway from it. But not a bad match at all. You know what? It's something I might want to watch here at some point here very soon to see if my opinion changes on it, because that happens every once in a while. All right, our next match on the card, we get to our second women's title match of the night. We've got Sasha Banks defending the Raw Women's Championship against Asuka in her second match of the night. Sasha Banks looking for her first ever successful women's title defense. And does she get it?
As much as I'm not a huge fan of Banks, I do feel really bad for her not getting to defend her title. I know her Bailey and Charlotte had a lot of back and forth a couple of years ago. Now that she's back in the limelight, she's having the same glass ceiling, I guess. So we had a decent amount of time for Asuka to rest up before her second opportunity to win a title. There were some high spots, but eventually it turned into a lock match. Different holds, trying to make each other submit. With Banks using the Banks statement over and over, and not over and over, but several times, and Asuka using the Asuka lock several times. Bailey tried to run interference, but got slightly taken out by Asuka, and then Asuka was able to get Banks to tap out this time. Banks was crying out for Bailey as she was about to tap out. She wanted help. She was putting those cries out there, and that's the drama that's going to lead to further storylines, hopefully. She wanted help. She helped Bailey out. Bailey wasn't there for her. Personally, I thought it was a fun match in general. I was wondering, they built it the same way that the first match was going, but it paid off differently. Asuka has one of the belts now. And here's connecting it to the beginning. I would have put these two matches backwards. I would have had Banks in the first match, or basically just whoever Asuka is going to get the belt from, I would have had them in the first match. I would have had Asuka lose the second belt in the second match. And actually, I would have had Asuka win both matches, but that's just, again, my own personal bias.
I will also say this. If Asuka, well, okay, so there's two lines of thinking about this. Considering the ridiculous bump that Asuka took, taking that sunset flip powerbomb to the outside, which was, to me, that was a spot of the night. That was, oh man, I actually think that knocked Asuka a little loopy for a second. I think she, if you saw the replay on it, she got a lot of whiplash on it. So maybe the thought process was like, okay, if you're going to take a bump like that in the first match, you might not be able to compete in the second match. So, but I don't think that was the case.
Just in general, when you get beat up in the first match, it's going to be harder for you the second match. And they even made sure of it when they went in after the first match, went in the ring and started beating her up just to add a little extra hurt to her body.
Right.
Plus, again, you had Asuka that had just gotten two non-title wins over Bailey. You had Bailey who had lost several matches in a row. So why Bailey won the first match, granted with a little bit of help, but Asuka's able to take out Banks, who she hasn't had as good a record against in the second match, even though she was more beat up. Banks was fresh. It's a little confusing why they went that route with it. They could have had the same, I think, heat between Banks and Bailey with having it go with the matches reversed. That's my big, I guess, gripe about this match.
Although we did get a interview in the back with Bailey with an actual literal broom saying, "We're going for a clean sweep." And again, that's Bailey thinking that she's hot shit, while everyone else is looking at it like, you're such a dork.
But... See, I was okay with that little thing too. Normally, That could have been on the line of being annoying, but that was more funny to me.
Right. I actually thought that this match was the best women's match of the card. I thought it was a little bit better than the opener. Mainly, I will straight up say that I'm giving an extra quarter star for the sunset flip powerbomb to the outside because that was, oh man, that was tough. That was a big bump. And we saw a lot of big bumps in this match. Actually, I thought the work in this match was really, really good, hard work. And actually, whenever I saw some of the reviews for the show, whenever I saw 11 minutes was the time of the match, I actually thought like, wow, this match did not feel like it was that short. But I didn't mean that in a bad way. It felt like it was a good competitive like 15-minute match, but instead it was, in that 11 to 12-minute mark, which was kind of surprising by the end of it. But
I'm surprised too. I didn't know that. And when you just said it now, it felt longer than that just because there was so much happening.
But I actually felt that this match was really good. They had a really good closing stretch. I'll be honest, Asuka and Sasha Banks have really, really good chemistry. So as the storyline between Asuka versus Banks and Bayley, the Golden Role Models, there's been some twists and turns. You can argue, some of the things that have happened along the way and stuff like that. We've gotten some really, really good wrestling out of this, which is a big plus out of all of it. And I think that's a positive thing to take away from this entire storyline. And I don't know if this was the best match that we saw between all three of them in everything, but I thought this was very, very good.
Like I said, I would have liked to seen Asuka take both belts, and that could have been a point of contention between the Banks and Bayley. I think WWE wants to further the storyline of Banks and Bayley more than they want to further the storyline of Asuka, and they're putting all their eggs for the women's division in that basket right now. And one of them having more belts than the other one is going to be, I guess, furthering that feud, furthering that heat. And it looks like they might be losing their belts at Payback.
It's possible.
As Payback, yes, they are going against Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler for the women's tag titles. And that's kind of a really shoddily put together tag team, but
yes.
They're both legit. So it's a good chance they could just pretty much beat them up because who's going to be running interference when they're both in the match, right?
Everyone sees Nia Jax like, I don't want to interfere. I don't want to get hurt.
I don't want to legit get hurt.
So for this match, I actually gave this about 3 3/4, just under 4, and between 3.5 to 4. I thought it was actually really good. I to be honest with you, I could have used another few minutes of it. Chop off 5 minutes of the Seth versus Dominic match and then add it to this one. Then I would have been a little bit more. But at the same time, though, with Asuka having 2 matches, I can understand why one's not like super long and stuff like that. But really good match, though.
For me, solid 3 out of 5. Again, I thought it was a solid match. Things that would have changed up would have been, I've already mentioned, but putting it first instead of having it last. I did like, again, Banks crying out for help as she was getting ready to tap out and Bayley not being there. That whole storyline. It's hard to separate the 2 matches from each other. So I guess altogether, it would have been a 3 out of 5. 3 out of 5 for each one. That would have put it the order that I would have liked it, or maybe even been nice enough to me to allow Asuka to win both titles. Could have shot it up, but as it was, 3 out of 5.
All right, next match on the card, and it was my most anticipated match on SummerSlam. It is Drew McIntyre defending the WWE Championship against Randy Orton. Again, as we've talked about on previous shows in the past, the stuff that's been happening with Randy Orton, he's been on fire as a heel. And you know what? A lot of the stuff that's been happening with him has been like predictable stuff that you could see kind of a mile, you could see him attacking Ric Flair a mile away. You could see him attacking HBK a mile away and stuff like that. But at the same time, that does not mean you have to swerve your audience just to swerve them. Sometimes those things have to happen, and it's going to continue along Randy Orton's momentum, and it did. And then we led to a big hot building point for this pay-per-view. Whereas you had Drew, who's also on fire, winning match after match after match after match. And now he's finally got his biggest challenge at one of the biggest shows of the year in Randy Orton. It almost felt like WWE booked themselves into a corner, but as we saw on Raw, they did a good job of giving Orton his heat back and adding some more heat onto the eventual rematch. This match